Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hitting the Field. I'm sitting in today for Alex Funderburk, who is currently in COVID protocol. He wanted me to tell you that right now he's feeling okay for the most part, but has a bad headache. He'll be back next week. I know he's missed you. In the meantime, we've got a great show for you today. First, I'll have John Alfano and Gadiel Cartagena on to talk about the NFL Conference Finals yesterday and what we think might happen in the Super Bowl. Then we'll be talking about the players that make up the NBA All-Star teams with Grant Wheeler and Cameron Forcier. I'm your host, Hannah Jo Groves. Today is Monday, January 30th, 2022, and Hitting the Field starts right now.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back, okay? Always locked in, I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Welcome back. Well, guys, after a record-breaking 18-week-long regular season, our Super Bowl teams have finally emerged. I'm here to talk about how those final games went yesterday with John Alfano and Gadiel Cartagena. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. The Chiefs lost yesterday, so I'm feeling spectacular.
All right, Gadiel.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Listen, I'm not preying on anyone's downfall, but watching what happened yesterday in the second half of the Chiefs game was an out-of-body experience for me, and we'll just leave it at that.
All right, well, before we get into yesterday's games, let's talk about the big news that kind of came out, kind of didn't, but we're pretty sure is happening. Tom Brady, the GOAT, retiring. I have the privilege of being in a really interesting spot here today. Gadiel is a Patriots fan, and John is a Bucs fan.
Yes, sir.
So, Gadiel, I'll start with you. Give me some of your reflections as you think about the guy who was your quarterback for pretty much your entire life, finishing his football career.
Listen, I'm happy for him going out on his own terms, not leaving with an injury. Obviously didn't end with a Super Bowl the way he probably wanted to, but Tom Brady's meant everything to me as a Patriots fan growing up. I mean, he's just watching him game in and game out. I've been spoiled to think football is played in a different way, in a winning way, almost every single year. So it's just great knowing that he's doing things the way that he wants to. Hopefully he is retiring. I honestly don't want to see him play for another season. I want the primary part of his career to be in Patriots lore. So I'm happy for Tom. I'm going to miss him. I've already missed him for the last few years. And it'll probably hit me really hard, like 3 months from now, watching highlights or whatever. But for now, I'm just happy for the guy.
All right. Well, John, what did you think of Brady before he came to the Bucs, and what do you think of him now?
I'll be honest, I was like most people. I did not like the guy much. I mean, he just dominated my teams always. He dominated the league for the entire time. You want to talk about generation-defining players, this guy's been in the league longer than I've even been alive.
Right.
So experiencing the NFL without him is going to be really strange. But once he came down here, completely changed the culture, won the Super Bowl in his first year, I completely turned around. And I'm really going to miss him. I don't think he's going to come back for one more year, but I'd be welcoming back with open arms.
Totally.
And he'll always be the GOAT in my eyes, no matter what happens.
Totally, yeah. And I'm right there with you, John. I was one of those people, they have the saying of if you weren't a Patriots fan, you hated Tom Brady. I was definitely one of those people. But then he came here, and even the first few weeks when he was in Tampa Bay, I was hesitant toward him. But by the time he won his Super Bowl here, I was a fan. There was no denying at that point that he was the GOAT, because not only was he able to be an amazing player, a Super Bowl winner in New England, he was able to do it anywhere he went. He proved that when he won the Super Bowl. I said this on last week's show. I think he should have hung it up last year. I think he should have gone out on a Super Bowl.
Would have been immaculate. But
I wanted to send him out on top. I'm kind of sad we didn't.
Right.
But at least he's going out on his own terms.
Well, and I agree with you there, and no one deserves that more than he does. Anything else to add, Gadiel?
Nope.
No.
Let's get the slander going.
All right, okay. Well, guys, no team has ever won back-to-back games in overtime in the postseason. And you know who made sure that stayed true?
Joe Burrow.
A guy nained Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, whatever you lovingly refer to him as. he did it. Last week, he got sacked 9 times. This week, multiple times, it seemed like he audibly just said no to being sacked. But the Kansas City defense looked strong in the first half. The Bengals defense, however, let's talk about it. Why, Gadiel, were the Bengals playing not only zone coverage, but pretty loose coverage when they're up against weapons like Tyreek Hill, McKinnon, Kelsey, and others?
Well, you can't man up Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. That's just 3 out of the situation. You have to bracket them. You have to have someone playing a little bit shorter, a little bit behind them, and someone playing deep, someone playing over the top. So they got to that more in the second half. The problem was in the first half, Mahomes just extending the play, and they didn't know how to work with that. But in the second half, they came out, they adjusted, they gave more attention. They said, okay, we'll take death by Pringle, Robinson, and Hardman. And they turned up. They got the job done. They were able to slow them down. They were able to get Mahomes rattled, and a lot of it falls on play calling, a lot of it Mahomes kind of just messing up. But the Bengals, ultimately, they got the job done defensively. They held Mahomes to 3 points in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd imagine John probably has more stats on that, but just a great performance from the Bengals defense. I think they are the MVP from this past game.
Okay.
They won't get the credit for it.
Right.
But what they were able to do in that second half, unbelievable.
Okay, what did you think about him?
I was so happy to see that and see the Chiefs absolutely implode on themselves. They were doing so well. Adam Schefter probably tweeted that they were going to the Super Bowl at halftime, and then they just fell apart.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes had a QB rating of about 144 in the first half. That fell to 12 in the second. Oh. And then he just didn't look like himself. He tried to play hero ball, and he got burned this time.
Yeah, well, where did it all go wrong? To me, it just looked like they were tired. The defense, even on the Kansas City side, didn't even look like they were trying to run after these people. It just seemed like, you know what, never mind. We don't want to go to the Super Bowl. What happened there, Gadiel?
Well, the thing that happened to the Chiefs, something that we can talk about it for the 49ers as well, there's a problem, there's a plague. The real pandemic in the NFL is when quarterbacks and coaches play not to lose. They start going away from what they're good at. The Chiefs, they started running the ball on first down for absolutely no reason. You're not good at that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not breaking a big run for you. They went to it, didn't work. They got 1 or 2 runs from McKinnon. Outside of that, didn't work. And then you're getting yourself in 2nd and long. And then 1 incompletion, 1 drop pass, 3rd and long. It just got into a really disgusting scenario for the Chiefs, and the Bengals took advantage of it. They played balanced football. They got the running backs involved. They got the tight ends involved. And the Chiefs weren't able to do that. It was Kelsey or Hill or bust. And in the second half, it was a bust. So Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, they deserve to get a lot of negative attention for their performance yesterday. It was really an unprecedented collapse. We haven't seen anything like this in quite a long time, and I think this is going to be a stain on both of their resumes for a little while.
Okay, you got to tell me here, because I was covering my face with a blanket when this happened. How did we feel when the Bengals lost the coin toss?
Like most people, I just assumed it was over.
Yeah, me too.
You saw Josh Allen even say pain on Twitter, knowing that they won again.
Yeah.
But then, like I said before, Patrick Mahomes tried to play hero ball. He forced that into double coverage. It wasn't working. Just this play from the second half carried over into overtime, and this time they couldn't come out. You give Joe Burrow the chance to touch the ball. Mm-hmm. Yep, you're done.
You're done. You're done.
He's icy.
Well, okay, so CJ Uzomah for the Bengals went out with a knee injury. How did the Bengals overcome losing him as an inside threat?
Yeah, it was a little bit of an issue for them getting their offense going because, like you said, he is used on the inside and he is one of their kind of seam guys. He's a little bit of a zone buster, and the Bengals are really good at going against that. So they really just got Mixon involved, I feel like.
Yeah.
A little bit of screens. They got some run after catch opportunities for a lot of their guys. And it just worked out. They have great players that are good after the catch. And although they missed Uzomah, they still were able to just get their players out in space. I thought it was a good job by Zach Taylor adjusting the offense in the second half. And it worked out. So I think they'll be able to overcome it, but it's obviously a little different against a better defense in the Rams.
What do you think about it without Uzomah?
Yeah, they're in a fortunate spot where they have enough weapons to make up for the loss of Uzomah. They have Tyler Boyd, they have T. Higgins, who had a great game yesterday, over 100 yards. They obviously have Jamar Chase, and they have Joe Mixon. Even LaMichael Pirine had a good game yesterday with a long touchdown. They have a ton of weapons on the offense. It's going to be tough for the Rams to contain them in the Super Bowl, but I got to pick the Rams defense there.
Really? In the Super Bowl? Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's move to the NFC now. California, SoFi Stadium, Jimmy G couldn't keep up with the likes of Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, and of course, Sean McVay, who wanted to challenge every single call that there was. So unsung hero here, I think, is Tyler Higbee, who went out, another tight end out. How did you feel about the Rams' chances when Higbee went out?
Listen, I honestly thought that going into this game, I thought the 49ers were going to win.
Really?
Not on the back of Jimmy G. I thought they were going to be able to run the football, get Debo and Kittle out in space, and Ayuk could be able to make enough plays over Jalen Ramsey. Obviously not the case. They got started hot, but the game came down to Jimmy G. And you know when that happens, you might as well pack it up and go home and not even play the fourth quarter, because even with a 10-point lead, Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan, and they are the most consistent duo. I respect their consistency. They consistently will blow those double-digit leads like clockwork, and they were able to get it done yesterday. It looks like that was their MO. Let's get up, prove to these people we can win the game, and then let our fans down the way that we always do. So credit to Kyle and Jimmy G. They got the job done the way that they wanted to, and now we have the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Now we have the Rams in the Super Bowl. So, John, can we talk about OBJ?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. I was hoping you'd say that. So, I thought that his dad was crazy, honestly.
Best agent in the league.
When he was tweeting and saying, no, OBJ is still good, Baker's just not throwing to him. I was like, okay, sure. I feel like everyone who thought that has been proven completely wrong. What did you think about his performance yesterday?
He was great. He has been his entire time with the Rams.
Yeah.
Like, he's not even the same player he was in Cleveland. He looks completely revitalized, and maybe that's because he's fit in a better scheme. Maybe it's because he has a better quarterback. But it's something the Rams are doing. He works perfectly next to Kupp as the number 2 on that team.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. What did you think about OBJ?
No, I'm happy for him. He's a person that his name has been dragged a lot.
Yeah.
I think a very unnecessary hate. I mean, obviously he's done some things that maybe people don't like, but he hasn't been a bad person off the field. He's been what sounds to be like a great teammate. He's had moments where he causes drama or whatever, but a lot of his teammates end up agreeing with him. So I'm happy for Odell. If they win the Super Bowl, I hope it's on the back of a great Odell game so he can prove himself right, because he's gone through so much stuff in the NFL, and a lot of it I really just feel is unwarranted. Just seeing him succeed, it makes me happy, honestly. It makes me really, really happy. It's been a good story this season.
Okay, so before we wrap up this segment, I know we'll probably talk about this next week, get some analysis and really dive into what we think is going to happen. John told us who he thinks is going to win the Super Bowl. You're sticking with the Rams?
Yeah, throw that out the window. I completely messed up. So I'm going with Big Daddy Joe Shiesty and the Bengals to win their first ring ever. Listen, this team began the season with worse odds than the Jacksonville Jaguars to win the AFC, and now they're in the Super Bowl. This is one of the biggest, most fun playoff runs I've ever been a part of, and I think they're going to go all the way.
Daddy-O?
Listen, I love the enthusiasm for Big Daddy, whatever you want to call him, but I'm going to have to go with the Los Angeles Rams. I'll even give you a score prediction and the MVP.
Okay.
Because I just want to put it all out there.
Okay.
I'll say Rams 34,
Okay.
Bengals 17. It's not going to be particularly that close. Yeah. Cam Akers is going to run for over 100 yards and a touchdown.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for NFL. Thank you so much, John and Gadiel. Believe me, we'll be here on Valentine's Day to see who was right and who was wrong about what went down in the Super Bowl. When we come back, I'll be with Grant Wheeler and Cameron Forcier. We'll share our thoughts on which players were selected for the NBA All-Star Game. Stay with us.
I'm going with Cowboys versus Giants. Why? Because I am a New York Giants fan, and I want my first pick of the week to be my team. I see an upset for the New York Giants this Sunday. Bet your entire savings, and I'm telling you right now, they're gonna win. I don't care what you say. It's gonna happen.
I have to go with the Raiders, I think, for this one. I don't see them losing.
Welcome back. It is now time for our primetime picks of the week, the best segment. I'm currently doing awful, standing at 16-10, Oklahoma State and Texas. I'm going Texas 35-27.
All right, Jeff, don't tell me your winner, but who is going to the Super Bowl? The New England Patriots
Oh my gosh. Oh my
God.
and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
God.
The
Oh
NFL is gonna make it happen.
And we're back. The NBA announced the players named to the All-Star teams last Thursday, and while some might feel like they got most players right, others feel like there's a few missing. I'm here now with Grant Wheeler and Cameron Forestier to talk about our thoughts on who made the cut. Grant, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling amazing. Had a fun weekend with football, but we're talking about basketball now. And the NBA All-Stars, it's coming up.
Yeah. All right, Cameron, you doing all right?
I'm doing all right. I'm feeling good. So not much I can more ask for on a Monday afternoon at this point.
Monday afternoon. Okay, great. Are we at afternoon now?
Basically.
Somewhere.
much.
Okay, close enough. Before we start going over who's in the starting lineups for the Eastern and Western Conferences, let me break down the process of how the players are picked. There are 10 starters total, 2 guards and 3 front court players. These starters are voted on by fans, current players, and media. Media and current players each have 25% of the vote, while fans get 50%. The captains of the two teams, LeBron James for the Western Conference and Kevin Durant for the Eastern Conference, were both placed in the captain position because out of the 5 players on each of their teams, they had the biggest numbers of votes from fans. So let's go over the Eastern Conference first. You've got Trae Young on the Atlanta Hawks. You've got DeMar DeRozan from the Chicago Bulls. Of course, Kevin Durant, who is your captain from the Brooklyn Nets. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm going to say that the best that I can, on the Bucks, and Joel Embiid on the 76ers. So Kevin Durant is going to draft the players to be on his team. But first off, Grant, I'm going to start with you. Who were the obvious picks? These guys were announced, and you said, yeah, that makes sense.
Easily, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Trae Young, even DeMar DeRozan. I mean, all 4 of them, of course, Kevin Durant, he's the captain, have all had spectacular seasons. I know Trae Young with the Hawks, they've been struggling, but he's been carrying that team. DeMar DeRozan leading the Bulls. They're like first in the East right now. And, of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the defending NBA Finals MVP. No surprise there.
How do you feel about Trae Young making this list, Cameron?
Trae Young has been putting the Hawks on his back. If there was any person I would put at the Eastern guards, it would be Zach LaVine, simply because the Bulls are top 2. They're half a game back from the Heat in the East. But Trae Young does deserve it. He has been absolutely doing a great carry job for the Hawks.
Yeah, and Zach LaVine was actually the one who told DeMar DeRozan on the plane that he got voted to the All-Star team.
That's right.
And can't help but wonder, he's making that announcement. He's like, it kind of sucks that I didn't make it. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way. But again, it's what the fans want at the end of the day. They get 50% of that vote. Who were, anyone on this spot that you thought maybe did deserve a spot besides Zach LaVine?
I have to go with Karl Anthony Towns. When you look at who the All-Star starters are, it does involve who you're going to kick off. And when it comes to the West forwards, Andrew Wiggins is the glaring, I am not sure why he's here. So Karl Anthony Towns has to be the one that I would put him over. He averages 6 more points per game, 2 more assists per game, and 5 more rebounds per game than Andrew Wiggins. He just dropped a triple-double last night, 30 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. He's the only player in the league with 20 points per game on 50% shooting and 40% from the 3. I honestly just think he deserves it. The Wolves are 500. We've been hovering around 500, so I think he has done a great job in Minnesota.
Well, yeah, so let's move to that Western Conference now. So at the starting position, you got Ja Morant, then we got Steph Curry, then we have Andrew Wiggins, who Cameron was just talking about, who is kind of the surprise, the outlier here, I think. LeBron James, of course, and Nikola Jokic. So, Grant, again, I'm going to ask you, Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, I agree with Cameron on this.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins is an all-star reserve, but he's not an all-star starter. And again, he's on a stacked Warriors team. He's played very well this season, but I don't think he earned the right to be a starter.
Well, wasn't it like some K-pop star endorsed him?
Yes.
And that is kind of what got him to the top.
Yes. So there is a K-pop artist, Bam Bam, who is a global ambassador for the Warriors, and he did tweet out Andrew Wiggins is one of the best two-way players in the league. He's a great supporting piece for Steph. retweet to get in the All-Star game. It got 43,000 total interactions, and it was on the day, according to the Washington Post, it was on the day where votes count as twice. That's 86,000 for those of you without a calculator at home. But that being said, the gap in fan voting was a lot more than 86,000 between him and Paul George, who finished 4th in the forward voting. So it did have an impact, but it was not the deciding factor, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. So, okay, what do we think? Okay, so this has just become a thing. It was back in 2017 where it wasn't just fans. So we still see, though, that fans are the overwhelming thing that pushes it over the edge. Do you agree with this philosophy?
It should be. It's a fan event.
Right.
It's nothing really competitive about the All-Star game. Yeah, like, obviously you still want to win, but, like, it's mostly for charity, too. Like, for money.
Right.
I mean, 2 years ago in the 2020 All-Star game, it was actually very entertaining. I think with the system they have now in place, I think they should just keep it as it is and just go forward with it.
Okay, so you feel good about the voting system now?
I do agree with it. I think that 33% and even split of one-third would work. But when you look at how Andrew Wiggins did in the media and the fans and the players who also voted, he was 5th, and 6th in those. So it's not as if he wasn't on the cusp. He just happened to get the 50% of fan vote that put him just over the edge.
Right. He doesn't have astonishing numbers, per se, not the all-star starting numbers that we want to see.
No eye-popping numbers, but still, I think he's definitely going to be a reserve.
Oh, yeah.
He's a consistent player
Definitely
in a year where the forwards have been weak. Paul George has not played a lot of games. You have Anthony Davis not playing a lot of games. And when it comes to the All-Star game, it is about flashiness. It's about the wow factor. And somebody who a lot of people think should have made it over him is Rudy Gobert, who is a just paint presence, interior defender. He does not have the wow that Andrew Wiggins would bring to an All-Star game, especially when you already have another center in Nikola Jokic starting as an All-Star.
Right. Okay. Well, so I can't help but notice, guys, the Phoenix Suns have the best record in the NBA, and they have no players.
Surprising.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Where's Devin Booker?
Where is Chris Paul?
I know. Devin Booker, Chris Paul.
Okay. What portion of the vote are they missing here?
I think they're just left out. You have Steph Curry, who's obviously going to be up there because he is on the Warriors. He is Stephen Curry. And then you have John Morant, who has been absolutely electrifying. It is not the case of them being not good enough. It's just of who of those two would you kick out, and I can't see you kick out either one of them. It's the same thing in the East. The Heat are first in the East, and they don't have a starter either. It looks as if they might only have one player in reserves and starters combined. So when it comes to the top 2 teams in the league, pretty much leading their conference, it looks like you're only going to have 3 players, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I've noticed a correlation here. Like the top teams in both conferences don't have all-star starters. Kind of head scratching.
Yeah,
it's because the Heat and Suns are both built on role players, and
there's depth, a lot of depth.
Yeah, a lot.
Right.
They're all depth. When you look at the Heat, they have been injured, so that's what I think would eliminate Bam from being an Eastern Conference forward. Jimmy Butler is an Eastern Conference forward, but you can't kick out any of those players also either. It's simply they're built as a team and not as a one player. Using the rest of the team as a backpack.
Okay, so Katie and LeBron James, they are drafting their teams February 10th, which is also the NBA trade deadline. And the coaches are picking the alternates on February 3rd. KD is currently injured, and it's pretty likely he's not going to play. Grant, who do you think comes in for him for this game?
Good question. I really don't know yet. I mean, there's still a couple weeks away from actually, we're like almost a month away still.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Is there any possibility KD could say he wants to play in this game?
Look, I don't think it's worth it for like postseason aspirations.
Game,
You know, he wants to win he's competing for a championship right now.
Totally.
So like, I think he wants to take it easy. You know, take the safe route, just stay out. Obviously, be there for the team. You know, coach them up, but don't play in it.
Okay. So James Harden, he just got beat yesterday by Chris Paul, leading the league in assists, and he's also not on the starting list. How do you feel about that, Cameron?
Whenever you're on a super team like that, where it is him, KD, and then Kyrie as a part-time player recently, you are going to be splitting touches, you are going to be splitting stats, and James Harden has missed some time. He started the year slow. Some people said the new foul rules, some people said the new ball. So it's not that surprising, especially when he is going up against Trae Young and DeMar DeRozan, who DeMar DeRozan is a top 5 MVP candidate. He needs to be talked about. He is the most deserving one. So it's understandable.
Okay,
in my opinion.
Give me your impressions on John Morant. He's our age.
He's absolutely amazing. I love John Morant.
He's 22.
He's so electrifying. I mean, 26 points a game, 8th in the league, 6.8 assists, 6 rebounds. He's an all-around point guard, and he's the reason why the Grizzlies are in the position they're in. He's leading that team. I've been following Ja Morant since he was at Murray State.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal in the NCAA tournament about 3 years ago, and he's been nothing short of spectacular since he was drafted number 2 back in 2019.
Absolutely, Cameron.
Ja Morant has been incredible. Everything Grant said is on the money. Going into the tournament, again, he at Murray State against Marquette, Marcus Howard, first round. I told my friends, like, hey, pay attention to Ja Morant because he is special. I don't even think he had a Power 5 offer coming out of high school.
He didn't.
Yeah, he was very under the radar. He leads the league in points in the paint as a point guard. Almost 16 points in the paint as a point guard over MVP frontrunners Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic. What he can do with his body control in the air and just everything is special. Ja Morant is special.
All right, well, he's definitely someone we will keep watching, but unfortunately that's all the time we have for now for NBA. Thank you so much, Grant and Cameron, for talking with me. When we come back, I'll tell you how I feel about NBC's coverage of the Winter Olympics.
Oh, it keeps coming back. We're gonna need to go away. Welcome to the HTF Hot Wings Challenge. One of you guys actually do hot sauce like regularly?
No.
No.
It's like the least black thing I do.
Oh, wow, okay.
I say Johnny goes first on this one.
I agree.
The Buccaneers are going to play the Washington football team.
That can't happen.
It will happen.
I'm terrified.
No, I really hate it.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. No. You're wrong. If it wasn't for Kanye jumping up on stage and doing that, I'm going to let you finish, but no one would know what it was.
Nitro's a dump truck. And if you don't know what I'm talking about,
Why is nitro thick?
I don't know how many squats I need to do to get up like something like that, but I will do it.
Oh! Oh my God!
Baseball, obvious reasons. Babe Ruth, if you want to go currently. I feel like that's just like a thing.
he jumped off the wall to catch the home run. We made it through all the way to the end. Thank you for joining us.
I'm never doing this again.
It was rough.
Now is the time for the rant part of our show. So now that the NFL is one game away from wrapping up their season, NBC is doing everything they can to remind everyone that the Winter Olympics are coming right up. Now, that's not surprising, since NBC has been spending lots of money to not only provide coverage, but also tell literally everybody where they can see it. On NBC, Peacock, Peacock Plus, Premium, or whatever. The point I'm making is, NBC has spent lots and lots of money, and they want everyone to watch. Literally everyone. Fine. But let's talk about the actual on-air product. Since the last Olympics in summer 2021 were obviously not the same without crowds, I looked back to the last Winter Olympics in 2018. Judging by that coverage, it seemed like in every pre-event production meeting, the only direction given was tell the athlete's story. Okay, but I'd add that the athlete's story should be secondary to the competition. And I know, it's easier to get the casual audience member interested if you can hook them in on some emotional part of the athlete's life. Admittedly, I'm a fan of getting to know the people I'm watching, but that's gotta be balanced with covering the competitive spirit. These athletes practiced ridiculous hours, endured the pain, and sacrificed all kinds of things to get to this elite level. So why did they do it? NBC wants to say it was to please an aging grandparent. Maybe, but mostly no. I say these athletes wanted to kick butt and then stand on top of the medal stand listening to the national anthem thinking, wow, I kicked everybody's butt. Instead, NBC spends precious broadcast minutes tugging heartstrings, detailing some situation in an athlete's life, sometimes an athlete that doesn't even end up getting a medal. Overall, I want NBC to treat us like sports fans. Along with some background on the athletes, tell us about the equipment being used and what the advances are. Have somebody assigned to give us some detail about the edges on skis, the steering of a bobsled, what the speed skates are made of, what kind of pads the snowboarders wear, how the ski jumpers are even still alive, and why the heck should I even watch curling? NBC, give us some sports coverage, not a Hallmark movie. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Hannah Jo Groves, and from Alex Funderburk, myself, and all of us here at HTFN, have a great week. Peace.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.